What are some things that the captain does for fun around the ship? Because I know I would be having so much fun. I think I'm too childish. I'd be having so much fun. You see a naval destroyer squadron, dude. I feel like I'm from Star Wars just saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always, while I was there, and since it was over, I told anyone who'd listen that being in command of the ship was the best 20 months of my life. It was
Mhm.
incredible. Um, I had a lot of luck in that I had a good boss to work for. I had two different bosses. Both of them were just great bosses to work for.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I had a great crew. I mean, of course, there's a few malcontents, and you put 275 people in one
Yeah.
place, and there's going to be problems. But for the most part, people wanted to work. People worked hard. The ship just did really, really well. It was a great time. What I like doing for fun, walking
Mhm.
around the ship,
Yeah.
which which made a lot of people nervous.
Just
Yeah.
looking at
Any time, day or night, I'd go for a walk around the ship. Middle of the night, I wake up I'd wake up in my bed, couldn't go back to sleep. I just go for a walk around the ship, see what's going on, what's really going on out here. You got to be ready for what you see,
Yeah.
yeah.
because people aren't expecting the captain to walk into their workspace at 1:30 in the morning.
What
Scares the shit out of them, but you know, you see
Yeah.
what's going on, and find out what they do. Again, here's
Mhm.
19-year-old sailor, welding up there. I forget what doing some welding on a repair job down in the general workshop
Mhm.
at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I walk in there, and he's startled. He thinks he's in trouble. He thinks he's doing something wrong. I'm like, no, just what are we working on? He described it. They were repairing a bracing place for hanging tools down in one of the engine rooms.
Mhm.
It's great. What rod are you using? He was like, I'm like, yeah. What rod are you using? He's like, I'm using 7014. I'm like, yeah. I used to use that back on. I did some welding back then. You have some things, and from right there, that young man knew that the captain one knew his name and actually gave a shit about what he was doing. Um,
Mhm.
Little things like that can go a long way to making the ship a better place.
Nice.
being seen.
Always tried to keep that in mind. Now, if somebody needs an ass chewing, they get it. Although I'm not real good at it, I didn't do that very often. I tried to not lose my temper, but again,
Yeah.
if you show someone that what you care about them and what you think they are doing is important, you're going to do a good job. Nobody shows up in the morning and says, I'm going to screw up today.
Yeah. Are there any other, like, leadership lessons that you learned, along the way and, like, from the military in particular that
Yeah,
translated into
there are lots, and people write books on this stuff. I don't always understand the books that they're writing,
Yeah.
but there's lots of leadership things along the way. I mean, there's little slogans. You've got to be good at reading people. I was never great at reading people.
Mhm.
Um, Tried to understand what they meant, not just what they said.
Mm.
Yeah, see what they're really communicating to you, what they're really trying to tell you. That's help them say what they're trying to tell you.
Mm.
'Cause if there's confusion, I think the first report is generally wrong. Wait for the second report to come in.
I like that one.
The first report is you see. Well, I mean, you see it on the news all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, we have to print a retraction on that. Ah, okay.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah,
like
Spoke too
that one. I'm
soon.
taking that one to the bank for
yeah.
real.
The first
You just
report is generally wrong. Give it a little time. That was one of the things. If it's like, I mean, this isn't just for being a captain of a ship, but this is any leadership lesson. If you have to make a decision,
Mhm.
one of the things you don't think about is when do you have to make it. You have to make it right now.
Mm.
If you don't have to make a decision right at this moment, don't. Even if you think you know what the answer to the question is, wait a little bit. Gather some more info, maybe get someone else's opinion. Don't make a decision too early, because
Mm.
if there's no rush, don't rush and make the wrong decision or the least no, a suboptimal decision. Get some more inputs, get some more people's thoughts, collect your own, do your own homework, make a better decision later on. And
Mm.
if you got people working for you, um, even if you think well, of course you're the captain, you have all the answers because you're the captain. Um, but if you think you know that answer, don't do it without getting inputs from someone else, because now your folks are part of the system. Realize, hey,
Mhm.
the captain cares what I think. He wants my input on making a decision. Because if you just
Mm.
make the decisions, oh, they're happy to let you make all the decisions, and then when things go wrong, yeah, the captain's a screw up. Ah, that's not really it. You want to
Mm.
get them. You want to get people, the people who work for you. You want to get them involved. That they're part of the system. Hey, the boss needs my input so that he can make the best decision. That's a big deal. Gives
That
That
people
is
value.
that reminds me of
incredible.
I was watching Jocko Willink's podcast at one point, and they were reviewing this book of military tragedies and
Mm.
failures, and
Hmm.
they had gone into the whole realm of like, hey, if some of these commanders and leaders would listen to the lower ranking people below them that are suggesting these different moves, they might be able to actually be a little bit more successful, and that just kind of reminded me of that.
That is
Mm.
exactly right. That is a common that's a common theme that you see when you look at failures, either ship collisions or some sort. It's not limited to the military. You'll find they may not be documented as well out in the civilian world, but the know-it-alls who don't want to hear any dissenting opinions, and they don't you know I'm in charge. I make the decisions. You all just go do them, and people they're not going to back you up.
Yeah.
Mm.
Involve people and they'll back you up. Treat them with respect, and you're going to do better because somebody out there knows more than you do, even if you're the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So use other people's experiences, and that's and then there are times maybe there is a decision that has to be made right now. No kidding. We've got to turn the ship. We've got to do this, whatever it is. But if you have involved people with other decisions, they are much more likely. They get it. Okay, there's no time. We trust the captain. We know his thought process. You get better results that way. At least that's what I saw.
Okay, so then they know, hey, now is right now.
Yeah, urgent
Otherwise,
is urgent.
Yeah.
we're smooth sailing this one. We're gonna see what let it ride out. See, that's really cool because, and I think this is why young men and just young people in general need to talk to the older generations, because there's so much wisdom in what you're saying that could help, especially young people that are impulsive or that don't have the structure of the military, like having that knowledge and that wisdom, that little pearl, that you might have got from being in such a position where you had to have such reverence for every decision that you make, that we can take that and give that and provide that for people. So that's really cool.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you is
Hmm?
so we talked a little bit about your early life in the Navy, but I wanted to ask you what the first ship you actually got to captain was, and what that ship's specific role is within like a fleet.
Gotcha. The ship I commanded, USS Decatur.
Mhm.
That's a guided missile destroyer. Um, it is yeah, does a lot of everything. They're Arleigh Burke class destroyers. They're amazing. They're the backbone of the Navy right now. We've got I know this answer. We have almost 70 of them.
Oh wow.
Mm.
They're a little different. I mean, Arleigh Burke is now almost 30 years old, so we've been building them for 30 years, and there's updated systems and stuff in it. But anyway, Decatur does a lot of things. You've got Tomahawk land attack missiles. You've got surface to air defense missiles. Um, you've got sonars for detecting, tracking submarines. It doesn't have an embarked helicopter, but you can. It has it doesn't have a hangar. It's got a flight deck on the back of it, or back on the fantail. You can land a helicopter, work with it to have the helicopter gives you a lot more capabilities for search on the surface and dipping sonars and things like that for hunting submarines. You've got a deck gun for surface gunnery, and then at the time, Decatur had a unique capability of ballistic missile defense. We could actually knock down things outside the atmosphere,
Oh
What?
wow, that's
and
sick.
that's
For
fielded
any
on a lot of ships now. But at the time, Decatur was one of the few that had it. Um, it's
Wow.
it does a lot of missions. A lot of times you might be around the aircraft carrier providing air defense umbrella around it, a missile defense umbrella. Other times you might be out hunting pirates.
Oh
Um,
wow.
one of
yeah.
the I was alone and unafraid looking for submarines in the South China Sea that summer. That was pretty interesting.
What?
Wow.
Um, Yeah, we had that has a long towed array sonar that's very good at finding submarines, and
Okay.
so it was just me alone and unafraid out there. No other ships around me, just me and my crew looking for submarines.
Wow.
Dude, that is so cool on so many levels. I was trying to hold it in. I'm like, ooh, on the inside. I just
Well, there was a lot of
like,
days of boredom. I mean, because you're just looking, you're looking at an empty ocean for days and days at a time. That's not real thrilling, but we do things to break it up. Sunday mornings, given that we didn't, get called to do some other thing, I made it very clear to the crew that Sundays was, obviously, people still have essential functions. Somebody's got to keep the engines running. You know, people still have to cook, but rather than, I didn't want people out, chipping and painting. We weren't having a bunch of meetings. We weren't having a bunch of training. Sunday was kind of a day off. If you're not standing watch, you want to go sleep, you sleep. You want to,
nice.
write letters home, write letters home. You need to, whatever it is, rest and recover on a Sunday. And then at lunchtime, we call them Steel Beach Picnic. I mean, we had big grills on board. We'd have grilled burgers and dogs, and we
Yeah.
had a
That's awesome.
collapsible basketball hoop that we'd put up on the flight deck and play some basketball.
Oh
Okay.
man.
How many basketballs did you guys go
I was
through?
just about to ask that.
I I think we went through over 75 of them. I mean, once they go over the
Wow.
side, you don't turn around, go pick them up. It's like,
Yeah.
we'll come get you. But yeah,
There's
flight
just
deck
75
basketball,
basketballs. That's
um,
awesome.
just things to break up the monotony of being out there, and the crew really appreciated that. Those were good days.
Yeah,
That's
you got to
so
build that
cool.
morale.
And I was lucky. I had a one of the chiefs that worked for me was actually a certified boxing referee.
Oh,
Hmm.
what?
Back in the day, boxing was a real thing on Navy ships. It was called smokers back then, and
Okay.
boxing was a big deal. I don't know if you
Whoa.
surfed our Facebook page, but you remember the guy that used to do the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Johnny Carson was in the Navy around World War II. He was actually a prolific boxer on his ship.
Huh.
Little history. Yeah, I write this stuff. Um, so my chief approaches me and says, "Hey, Captain, we want to do smokers."
Okay.
I don't know of anybody in the Navy who has done this for years because a lot of people are worried about negative publicity, somebody getting hurt. So I'm kind of listening to him. I'm like, okay, how are we going to do it? And he laid it all out. He's like, Captain, I'm a certified ref, down here at Chula Vista. Chief Jones here with me. He's not certified, but he referees with me on the weekends. And they laid it all out on how they would do this, and it was
Nice.
great. They couldn't be grudge matches.
Okay.
If there were two people that didn't get along, they couldn't do boxing. And then the 98-pound weakling couldn't box the
Wow.
215-pound former Marine.
Yeah.
They had to be
Okay.
similar weight, no grudge matches. And what was really funny, because this was all about raising money for our morale, welfare, and rec,
Okay.
they would they found these pairs of people, and we had like 8 sets of 8 pairs of people who wanted to box, but you needed to narrow it down to a 3-pair card. So
Okay.
they would get on the ship's TV week prior at dinner and talk trash at one another about
Oh,
white.
the press conference. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, it was
Oh,
hysterical. And the to vote, you gave $1 a vote.
Yeah.
okay.
You wanted to see Smith and Jones box, you went down to the thing and you handed $1 or however how much money, and all that money went to the ship's morale and rec fund to fund things when we go ashore.
That's
Some
awesome.
of the trash talking was just hysterical. Oh gosh. I'm trying to be an adult, but I'm laughing so hard at some of the things that got said. And then the bottom line, we had all the crew out there on the fantail, and they talked it up, and the judges were me, the captain, my second in command, and then my senior enlisted guy. They had walk up music for us when they
Oh,
when
that's
they
cool.
when they announced. Yeah, it got to be a real production. The boxing matches were all the same. First round, people come out fists of fury for 20 seconds, and then it's like, we're tired, and they just hang on each other the rest of the time.
That's funny. That's great.
They
That's
realized
awesome.
that, hey, this is pretty hard work. It was
Yeah,
good. Nobody got hurt. Everybody had a good time. We got to do that twice on that deployment, and that was a crew favorite.
that's awesome.